Recap number 3. After Act 4, we begin Act 5, Act 1, otherwise known as Hivebend. We were introduced to 12 trolls from a planet called Alternia, which resides in another universe. We followed these trolls as they played their own 12-player session of Spurb, or to them, Scrub, to completion. A whole bunch of stuff happened along the way. In completing the game, they created a universe, our universe, home to Earth and our 4 heroes. But they were denied entry into the new universe due to an encounter with an indestructible demon. This demon was the 4 times prototyped Jack Noir from the kids session, forced into the troll session due to a space-time rift the kids would later cause, called a scratch. The trolls fled to the Vale, discovered the existence of the kids, and began trolling them. Then, Act 5, Act 2 started. Through a Trollian viewport, we see John moments before the scratch is initiated, wearing his god-tier Air of Breath suit, in the land of heat and clockwork, about to put in motion a plan he, the other kids, and the trolls all helped orchestrate to cause the scratch. This is the first conversation Karkat has ever had with John, and the last John has with Karkat, pre-scratch. Karkat proceeds to troll John backwards through his timeline. John knows increasingly little, while Karkat gradually begins to understand more and more. Events from Karkat's perspective. 10 hours and 25 minutes before the critical moment, Jack arrives and destroys the gateway to the new universe. Aradia transports all the trolls to the Vale to hide. Her army of doomed duplicates take on Jack. They are all destroyed. The trolls find a computer lab in the Vale and stay there for the most of the time, remaining before the critical moment to occur at 00. 6 hours and 12 minutes before the critical moment, Jack destroys Prospect. Shortly before this, Kanaya chainsawed off Tavros' legs to replace them with robotic legs supplied by Equius. At the sight of this, Karkat faints, and for the first time, his dream self wakes up on Prospect. He is awake only for a short moment before he sees Jack, and finally recognizes him as Jack Noir, rather than the heretofore unidentified demon. Jack then kills him, and all the other Prospect Dreamers, in the process of destroying the planet. Karkat remains asleep for an hour, until 5:12:30, before the critical moment. Exactly halfway through the countdown. While sleeping post-dream death, he dreams of horror terrors in the furthest ring, an experience anyone will have if sleeping after dream death. On waking up, he orders everyone not to sleep. He also wakes up to news that the humans were discovered. Neither he nor the other trolls understand the significance of the humans right away. They were discovered when Terezi was wired 413 boon bonds from Dave. On her future instruction, she urges Karkat to take a closer look at them. He dismisses them as irrelevant. It's not until later he makes the connection between the Jack Noir in the kid session and the one hunting them down, recognizing them to be the same Jack, therefore placing the kids at fault for the current predicament. He then conceives of the plan to troll the humans as a futile form of payback, and urges his team to follow suit with a compelling speech. He isolates John as the primary target of his hatred after watching him grow up. He is sure John is fated to be his Kismesis, a romantic partner specific to troll culture, centered around rivalry and loathing. In his first conversation with John in the air suit on Lohak, he professes these feelings quite clumsily. John cannot reciprocate. The awkward exchange causes Karkat to trap himself into continuing backwards on John's timeline, and the trolling continues in reverse fashion until John's first conversation with Karkat. By then, Karkat's explained many things to John along his journey. Things about the game, about his role as an ectobiologist, and about their shared chief adversary, Jack Noir. In John's first conversation with Karkat, Karkat needs to get in touch with Jade. It's at this point on Karkat's timeline. He has finally understood enough that he knows he must begin making plans with the kids for their mutual benefit. Karkat attempts to get in touch with Jade, who continues to ignore him in a particular time frame due to his persistent previous harassment of her in years prior. He leaves a message to her months in the past, telling her she needs to get in touch with him when her robot explodes. Her robot later finally does explode when her dream self is killed in the impact of Prospect's moon on the battlefield. When she wakes up, she remembers the message and contacts him, but she contacts him at a point in his timeline where he is not yet interested in hearing from her. He argues with her and is interrupted by his future self in a memo from a time where he is trying to contact her. He and his future self argue, and Jade mediates between the two and becomes angry and frustrated and ceases the correspondence. By this point, the biggest meteor yet is approaching quickly, and she must enter the medium to escape. She requires John's assistance. He must recover the server disk, install it, and rescue her. Events from John's perspective. John sleeps on Bro's rocket board, flying along with the meteors of the Reckoning. He lands back on his planet, the land of wind and shade, Loas, and his dream self is awoken after Dream Jade pushed him to safety from the blast of Prospet's moon. His dream self now exists on the battlefield. Awake whenever John sleeps. He wanders the battlefield with his robot bunny, whom he would later name Liv Tyler. He sees his dad and Rose's mom, and runs to meet them, but he wakes up before reaching them, and his dream self disappears. The ring he was carrying falls into a ravine below, later to be discovered by the war-weary villain, before his exile to post-apocalyptic Earth. Vriska was responsible for waking him up. Upon discovering John, she takes an interest in his advancement and uses her abilities to help him progress and set up critical events along his timeline. The only effect her abilities have on humans is to wake them up or put them to sleep. In this case, she woke him up so he would be able to receive the server disk about to come out of a parcel Pixis. The disk had been deposited into the pipeline by Peregrine Mendicant some time ago. She and John continue to converse, and he befriends her, oblivious to the true nature of her schemes. She functions as his patron troll, a troll who is particularly focused on helping one of the kids, like Terezi is with Dave and Kanai is with Rose. John returns to his house and installs the server, but not before touching base with Rose, who is committed to cracking open the secrets of the game through dark magic, and Dave, who is from the future, having time traveled extensively over the course of the 24-hour reckoning period. John also encounters Nana, who gives him a pendant granting him the ability to summon her. She conjures a ghost bed for him, and cooks for him with a ghost oven. He floats on his bed high above Loas while he connects to Jade. Jade, who had woken up in her bed at the foot of the hill, returns to her house to find John setting up equipment. John deploys the alchemitor and lathe in her greenhouse, and the Cruxtruder in front of her fireplace. He opens the Cruxtruder and discovers that there are 10 minutes and 25 seconds until impact. They discuss what to prototype with, if anything. Rose warns him of the danger of failing to prototype, which would not allow the battlefield to heal, evolve to its final form, and grow the tumor inside, which is critical to her plan to destroy the Green Sun. John resolves to prototype with the blue doll, missing an arm and an eye, to deliberately disable Jack, but Vriska puts him to sleep before he can do that. Becquerel then prototypes himself to destroy the meteor and save Jade. As he sleeps, John's ghost bed crashes into an oil ocean below. He loses his computer with the server disk in it, and Nana's pendant. He hops to a small island. He notices the ocean is on fire over the horizon, and the fire is approaching. He talks to Rose, who informs him Jade entered while he slept, and is safe. She tells him about a quest he'll need to go on later to recover the tumor from the battlefield and bring it to her. He then talks to Karkat, who is speaking to him for only a second time from Karkat's perspective. Karkat explains exactly what the kids did that made him decide to troll them. He blames Jade for prototyping Beck, creating Beck Noir, who is now terrorizing the troll session, while blaming John for allowing it to happen. Meanwhile, the fire is approaching his island, and has turned green due to Beck Noir's transformation, taking place during a duel with Bro and Dave Sprite elsewhere on Loas. John is contacted by Vriska, who admits to putting him in this position to challenge him, to realize his potential as the heir of breath. She also admits to deliberately playing a role in the creation of Beck Noir, wanting to be involved in his rise just as she also plans to be the one to kill him. She explains that regardless of her actions leading to his rise, his existence in the troll session is immutable due to the nature of paradox space. That outcome could not be changed with different actions. The only consequence of different actions would be an offshoot timeline in which all participants would be doomed. As the fire surrounds him, she encourages him to use his abilities, and with some coaxing from Wayward Vagabond, who commands him from his station, he does the windy thing. The breeze surrounds Loas and puts out the fire completely, and blows John to a larger landmass just outside a village. The breeze also clears the clouds from the sky, but they return shortly, as the spell over the planet must be broken by other means. By unlocking this ability, he reaches the top of the Echeladder, and becomes the heir transparent. Vriska then informs him the only thing left to do is reach God Tier, which is done by sleeping on his quest bed, which is nearby. She tells him to ask the locals about it. He does, and finds the quest bed beyond the village. He sits in the bed, but isn't tired. Vriska gives him the choice of whether he would like her to put him to sleep. He agrees. While he sleeps, Jack Noir finds him and stabs him through the chest, killing him. Wayward Vagabond watches his death on the monitor and commands him to rise up. Wayward Vagabond sees nothing except fireflies gather around John's body. After the spectacle, there is no change. John's body remains motionless, and the monitor shuts off. Wayward Vagabond believes John has died, and he is right. But on the battlefield, his dream self appears lying on a corresponding quest bed. His dream self slowly takes on the signs of the wound inflicted on his real self. As it rises, his dream self then takes over his real self, with all wounds healed, as the fully realized heir of breath. War-weary villain pre-exile watches this happen on the battlefield. He remembers this moment long after his exile without understanding what exactly happened. But on Earth, Wayward Vagabond believes he just witnessed the end of John's quest. Wayward Vagabond is still in possession of the ring and has accidentally locked himself in the station, and there is not enough power to unlock it. The only source of power is a lump of uranium which he ate hours ago, so he waits. John now wanders the battlefield, poised to complete the objective he was given by Rose. Events from Rose's perspective. Rose uses her dark magic to search for ways to subvert the usual course of the game and overcome the futility of the situation, with assistance from her patron troll Kanaya, counsel from the gods of the furthest ring, and information provided by DraxxKraven. Kanaya begins trolling Rose, suspecting her to be the author of the game fact guide she read on Alternia, a figure she grew up idolizing. But she comes disappointed with her due to a series of miscues resulting from her sporadic nonlinear trolling. She continues conversing with her nonlinearly, engaging in a feud of snarky one-upmanship, gradually befriending her. She eventually realizes Rose is the true author of the guide when she watches her destroy the gate above her house with magic. She then continues helping her in a more linear fashion, uncovering the secrets of the game and sharing her own extensive knowledge of the game with her. Ultimately, as Kanaya begins to understand the true nature of Rose's plan, she becomes afraid Rose is dangerous. She is especially unnerved by the fact that soon on Rose's timeline her viewport goes dark, and she can no longer be monitored. But she acknowledges she can do nothing to stop her, so she trains Eridan to become a powerful white wizard of hope to challenge her, as a joke. A particular target of Rose's investigation is the Green Sun. She rips apart underground ruins to retrieve information on it, and is further informed by DraxxKraven on the subject. The Green Sun is a huge star, nearly twice the mass of the universe. It resides somewhere in the furthest ring, and serves as the power source to all First Guardians. Beck was Earth's first Guardian, but when he became prototyped, Jack inherited all his powers, which are supplied by the Green Sun. DraxxKraven is the first Guardian of Alternia. DraxxKraven, like Beck, is a virtually omnipotent being, with all the same powers. Unlike Beck, he is an intelligent host to those powers, and is therefore also omniscient. His job is to pave the way for the arrival of his employer, an indestructible time-traveling demon called Lord English. Lord English can only enter a universe upon its death, at which point he travels back in time to an earlier point in the universe's lifespan to assume leadership of his gang of mobsters called the Felt. His machinations, like Scratch, are in part designed to bring about his own future entrance. Before the trolls began their session, Scratch took measure to both pave the way for English to arrive, as well as contribute to his own creation. First Guardians have circuitous self-fulfilling origins, much like the players of Spurb. Beck was created in a lab through ectobiology by merging the ghost slime image of Grandpa's dog Harley with Rose's meow code. Scratch had a similar but yet unknown origin. Scratch manipulated several members of the Trolls party into playing Spurb in the first place. Notably, he manipulated Vriska into killing Aradia, who as a ghost became the primary orchestrator of the session. He was also used as something of a pawn himself by Terezi in exacting revenge against Vriska, causing her to lose an eye and an arm. This was another key moment in a critical cycle of revenge, leading to Terezi's blindness and awakening, Vriska's eventual death by Aradia's retaliation, and then Vriska's resurrection to the god tier as the Thief of Light. Having done everything he needs to do, Scratch tells Rose he wishes to die. Thus, the destruction of the Green Sun is to their mutual benefit, and Rose performs a plan. While she gave the short version of the plan to John, telling him he'd need to recover the tumor, she tells the full plan to Dave. The tumor at the center of the battlefield is in fact a very powerful bomb, capable of destroying the Green Sun. She will go to sleep, and John will bring it to her dream self. Meanwhile, Dave is to go to sleep and listen to the gods, who will tell him how to find the sun. He will make a map, and Rose will plot a course there and destroy the Green Sun in a suicide mission. Ideally, this will negate all of Jack's powers, reducing him to immortal status once more. After events from Dave's perspective. After entering the gate above his apartment, Dave begins exploring Lohak under the guidance of his patron troll Terezi. Her fascination with him was prompted by the money wire from his future self, which alerted her to the existence of the humans in the first place. She watched him grow up with his bro and made some observations about humanity through his upbringing. She then committed to helping him, in part due to her rivalry with Vriska, who sought to make sure the human she favored, John, would outpace Dave. Over the course of the adventures, she coordinates for him, Dave experiences about 3 days chronologically due to looping through time and fulfilling the requirements of various time loops. The key objective is to make enough money for him to be able to wire it to her in the first place, completing the time loop that started it all. The sum of money vastly exceeds what is typically gathered in a session, and must be accumulated by manipulating the Lohack Stock Exchange using time travel. Along the way, Dave and Terezi befriend each other, trading comics and perpetrating financial capers. In the early going, Terezi leads him into a pot of soups, prepared by crocodile consorts, for no particular reason other than it needed to happen on his timeline. Doubtful of the need for her help, he nearly quit, but received assurance from his future self and continued exploring. He goes underground and discovers gold ruins. Before entering, he's interrupted by Karkat, who uses a memo to warn him and John about their involvement with Terezi and Vriska, telling them the Scourge sisters are partaking in a dangerous game of rivalry-fueled flirtation, which has gotten both him and John killed at least once each. Karkat speaks from a time in which he's aware of a plan developing, which may lead to the kids and trolls meeting each other, and he does not look forward to the results of the gathering if these trends continue. John and Dave disregard his advice. Dave proceeds into the ruins and finds a legendary sword, Calitfolch, lodged in a block of gold. He breaks it to retrieve it, and is told by Dave's sprite that the sword is critical in his personal quest as the Knight of Time. Terezi then tells him he is about to fall asleep, without knowing Vriska was behind the snap as well. Dave goes to sleep, and Dave's sprite defends him from a horde of powerful monsters, before Dave wakes up. Dave's sprite leaves to find Bro. He does and joins him on the battle against Jack. When Jade enters, Jack transforms into Bec Noir and defeats both of them. Bro is slain by his own sword, and the body is discovered by Dave later, who can't bring himself to retrieve it. While sleeping in the ruins, Dave's dream self wakes up again, on Dursa's moon. Following Rosa's advice, he looks into the sky and takes off his shades. He gets his first glimpse of the gods. He then wakes up from hearing a gunshot fired by Jade as she battles an imp and quickly teleports away. The first of the 3 times he has seen her in this manner. He sees her again on the Lohack Stock Exchange and again while visiting Jade's planet. He then goes on to make all the money needed to buy all the frame motifs, which are powerful battle techniques purchased from consorts, and to reach the top of his Escher ladder, but he still wants to know why he would never be able to reach John's level. To satisfy his curiosity, Terezi gave him a choice somewhere in the middle of his timeline, a choice to be decided by a coin flip. He could assign the outcome of the flip to mean he would either be shown now or later. The outcome of the flip, which Terezi did not even look at, was a constant. 2 realities are created by his 2 possible decisions. The decision to be shown now creates a doomed reality, wherein Dave becomes doomed. The decision to wait simply continues the alpha reality, and Dave remains the alpha Dave. Doomed Dave follows Terezi's instructions given to him before the flip. He is to go back in time, leaving his doomed timeline, and sleep on his quest bed. And if he has what it takes to reach his god tier, he will. Alpha Dave, after waiting some time, was instructed to go back to the bed to find Sleeping Dave and kill him, thus allowing him to face the true gravity of the decision. Dave doesn't go through with it, and decides to end his collaboration with Terezi for the time being. Later, doomed Dave wakes up, gets out of bed, and is immediately killed by Jack, 3 hours and 14 minutes before the critical moment. Terezi watches and is upset by her involvement in his death. She runs off deeper into the lab. Dave travels to Jade's planet, the land of frost and frogs, Lofaf. While standing in the snow, he sees Jade appear briefly while fighting an imp, just as he did before in the ruins. He contacts her, and she mentions she's lost track of John. Dave tells her John's busy, without mentioning he was in the process of rising to the god tier. He says John can no longer be her server player, and they would have to make other plans. Dave tells her to deploy the IntelliBeam laser station in his apartment. The device allows very complex captcha codes for certain items, like Spurb Disk, to be read, which couldn't otherwise be read by the human eye. He then creates a copy of his own server disk and uses it to connect as Jade's server player. He becomes the server player for both Rose and Jade, though past Dave would stay concerned with Rose's connection, while he, as future Dave, would concern himself with Jade's connection. He deploys the new Alchemitor and helps her upgrade it. With his massive reserve of grist accumulated in his travels and his more advanced torrenting capabilities, he allows Jade to alchemize some sophisticated equipment right away. A bit later, she contacts him again after learning of his dead bro and dead doomed self. He assures her the dead Dave was just a doomed copy, and he would be fine. She decides Jack needs to be stopped, and they would come up with a better plan than Rose's suicide mission to stop him. He suggests the idea is futile, but lets her know she'd come to her own decision regardless, and he'd be available to talk later if needed. Events from Jade's perspective. When Jade's dream self is killed, her robot explodes, destroying her room, causing her to fall. Bec transports her bed to break her fall. She falls asleep. Now dream dead, she has a dream in a bubble blown by a god in the furthest ring, and meets Feferi. There, Feferi, a Durst dreamer, went to sleep to convince the gods to establish dream bubbles where they can meet while asleep. as long as their dream selves are dead. While she is asleep, 4 hours and 13 minutes before the critical moment, Jack destroys the troll's Durst, killing her and all the Durst dreamers. She, along with all the other trolls and Jade, would then only dream in the furthest ring, where she met Jade, and attempted to show her the gods were harmless, but Jade sees through the bubble and catches a glimpse of the gods. She wakes up with a terrible headache, scared of what she saw, and resolves to stay awake. Fairy messages her and introduces her as the one from the dream. It is the second time they have ever spoken. The first time was long ago from Jade's perspective. Jade realizes her robot has exploded, causing her to remember that was her cue to message Karkat. She does, and the aforementioned confusion takes place in the memo with past and future Karkat. Past Karkat berates her, while future Karkat defends her. She reprimands both of them for arguing with each other, who are the same person separated by only 3 hours of time. Dave enters the memo and mocks future Karkat for his flirtation with Jade after the lecture he gave John and Dave on the subject. Jade ends the conversation and is in no particular hurry to get back to him about the important matter he wanted to discuss. The meteor impact is imminent. John connects with her and helps her prepare for entry. She makes her entry item from the pre-punched card. A tree sprouts from the alchemeter, and a green Beck-shaped piñata dangles from a branch. A green blindfold appears over her eyes, which she cannot remove. She attempts to strike the piñata with the butt of a rifle, which does no damage. Instead, it releases a burst of energy, causing the greenhouse to explode, and Jade to fly out and fall. While falling, she takes a shot in the dark with her rifle. By this point, Beck has prototyped himself to become Beck-Sprite, and has destroyed the meteor with a massive green energy blast, releasing a huge shockwave spreading over the surface of Earth, destroying much of what hadn't already been by the meteor storm of the Reckoning. Beck-Sprite then appears in front of her bullet and redirects it into the head of the piñata, destroying it. Jade, her house, and a large part of her island, including the volcano, are all transported into the medium on Lofaf. She falls through the snow of Lofaf, now unblindfolded. Beck-Sprite again breaks her fall with a bed, and again she falls asleep. She has a recollection of sitting on her bed back on Earth some time ago working on John's present. It's then that Feferi contacts her for the first time. Jade believes she is trolling her like the others, but she only means to reassure her what happened wasn't her fault, as well as inform her of her plan to establish the Dream Bubble network. But soon, both realizes this is not a memory, but a dream they are currently sharing, with the memory as a stage. Feferi meets Jade in her room and compliments her on her work on the bunny. Feferi also claims to be dead. Jade wakes up again, just as agitated as the first time she woke up. She gets out of bed and realizes her lunch top is still in the destroyed greenhouse. She begins her ascent, but is interrupted by an encounter with an imp, which takes her on a trans-Inciposphere journey, visiting many locations and passing by 3 instances of Dave, including a future Dave who ends up helping her later. The imp is finally killed by Beck-Sprite. Peregrine Mendicant from post-apocalypse Earth, just after discovering her station and en route to the Frog Ruins, tries to issue commands to Jade through the terminal. Beck-Sprite is alert to these commands and protectively destroys Peregrine Mendicant's terminal. Jade returns and finds her computer undamaged. Future Dave contacts her after seeing her out in the snow. He then becomes her server player and sets up her equipment after most of it was destroyed/transported before entry. As she prepares to alchemize new items, she is contacted by her fairy god troll, a distinction which does not necessarily have anything to do with being a kid's patron troll. Tavros seeks permission from her to commune with Beck again. The first time he did it was when she was very young, and playing with her grandpa's flintlock pistols. She accidentally fired the gun at herself. Tavros communed with Beck to get him to transport the gun and the bullet away from her, towards her grandpa, who was picnicking with the blue doll, killing him. Tavros mistook him for an intruder, but regardless, Jade is upset by the revelation. He digs himself into a deeper hole by professing flushed feelings for her awkwardly, while making bold claims of high self-esteem and confidence granted from his new robot legs. Put off by this, she is not particularly receptive to his plan to commune with Beck-Sprite to take on Jack Noir, and ends the conversation. Vriska, who is reading the conversation, mocks Tavros for his false show of confidence. She continues to take jabs at him, calling him a coward, unable to do the one thing she asked, which would have given him real confidence. She refers to the incident preceding her resurrection to the god tier, after she was nearly beaten to death by Aradia. Tavros finds her, believing her to be dead. He attempts to bring her back to life with a kiss, but having woken up on Prospect after the beating, Vriska's dream self is able to control his mind. She makes him choke himself, simply to prevent the kiss to avoid the standard resurrection process, which would prohibit god tier ascension. She does not wish to control him completely, intending to leave the following decisions to him, to make him stronger. Instead, she merely controls his hand to write messages to himself using her blood. She instructs him to take her to her quest cocoon and kill her on the sacrificial slab before she bleeds to death. He hesitates, and she continues to insist, while her dream self gradually takes on the same wounds inflicted on her real self, causing her demands to become more desperate. The more desperate she gets, the more terrified Tavros becomes. and he finally flees without killing her. She eventually dies, and is resurrected on the battlefield as the Thief of Light. Still holding this against him, she berates him for his newfound attitude, and regards his plan to influence the kid's timeline as a cheap imitation of her own tactics. She brags about the ways she has manipulated events on their timeline so far by practicing her abilities on Jade repeatedly, causing her to fall asleep frequently. She describes ways in which she has inserted her agenda into existing events, tipping off agents to the whereabouts of the Meow Codebook, and other such incidents which contributed to the rise of Jack Noir, so she could claim responsibility for his existence before taking him on herself. Tavros becomes angry with her incessant mockery and the extent of her treachery, and decides to seek her out to challenge her. She waits for him somewhere in the lab. After the conversation with Tavros, Jade alchemizes a number of items, one of which is a legendary rifle, Ahab's Crosshairs, supplied by Aridin. Aridin, now believing himself to be a powerful wizard, feels he's surpassed the need for the weapon, and gives it to Jade to fuel the rivalry he mistakenly assumed she has with Rose, as payback for Rose's earlier dismissal of his black advances. Jade recognizes it as one of the weapons she included with the bunny for John. The weapons were provided by her pen pal, who she accidentally revealed to be her grandson from the future. The pen pal swore her to secrecy in the matter, so she did the same with Aridin, though he admitted this would be the last time he talked to any human ever. Realizing the new rifle would serve as a sort of heirloom to her grandson, she decided to discard it outside her house, and allow it to reach her grandson eventually, however it may. Aridin then blew up her Johnny Top. Another item she created was a pair of Junior CompuSooth spectagoggles, allowing her to see anything in the Incipisphere at the present moment. She saw John as the heir of breath on the battlefield, Rose on Lohack talking to Doc Scratch, Dave Sprite's pendant covered in blood nearby Bro's dead body, and a slain doomed Dave. She contacts Dave to make sure he's alright. She then comes up with a plan to take on Jack Noir. She contacts Tavros again to talk about the plan he proposed, but he's left to take on Vriska. She's only one idea left. She goes up to her grandpa's lab, summons Beck Sprite, and tosses in her dead dream self, which her grandpa had retrieved from the battlefield and stuffed many years ago. Beck Sprite becomes Jade Sprite, but Dream Jade is not pleased by the transformation. She freaks out and releases the typical First Guardian pyrotechnics. The lab plummets, crushing the column and greenhouse below. It bounces away from the house, rolling into a large snowball and settling near a green stump. The two Jades sit in the state of dismay amidst the rubble of the lab, in the glow of a damaged fourth wall. As the clock ticks down to the critical moment, the most important character in Homestuck sits and watches this pandemonium ensue. And then the second most important character in Homestuck positions a shitty drawing of himself in front of a typewriter and writes this recap. I think this typewriter is running out of ribbon ink. Thank God, that white ink is such a pain in the ass to read, almost as much as these recaps are to write. Highlighting all that white text crashed my browser. Sorry, why don't we get back to what's happening on the other side of the coat? Those poor girls are very upset and emotional. We kind of left them hanging. Fuck. Whew. I believe we will return to emotional reconciliation. My fucking throat hurts. Ah!